In a world full of choices, choosing your DAW is just as important as choosing your draws. What up, YouTube? This is Wavy, Wayne, Sauce Master, King Drip, Mr. Drop, all that. Yo Pro Tools expert, yo Pro Tools pimp, Mr. Wavy, all right? Now let's go ahead and get down to it, man. The topic of this video is gonna be about why I use Pro Tools and why you should too. There's a bunch of different DAWs out there, all right? From Logic, Ableton, you got Cubase, Studio One, you got Pro Tools, you got even people recording in FL Studio, all right? So it's endless options. There's Reaper, it's endless options nowadays, right? But in the beginning, there was one, all right? So let's go down and break down why I like to use Pro Tools and why you should too. Way back in 1980 something, a couple of guys, I think it was about 1984, but a couple of guys, they got together and formed a company called DigiDesign. Now, DigiDesign later came on to be the world's first, to create the world's first tapeless recording studio. So before DigiDesign, which is the parent company of Avid, right? The name has evolved. So what we know now is Avid Pro Tools, used to be called DigiDesign Pro Tools, right? So DigiDesign was formed back in the early 80s, all right? So it was actually the first computer studio that there was. So over all that time, the research development, they have grown to be probably the most standard DAW that there is. Not only was Pro Tools among the very first in DAWs, but Pro Tools was my first DAW, which is a huge reason why I still use it today, right? In my early days of recording, I had a friend who brought a Pro Tools LE setup, and that's where I got started with Pro Tools back when I was like 16 years old. I've been rocking with Pro Tools since then. Now, of course, I've used other DAWs like Reason and Logic, to just name those two. Those were kind of my side joints, you know what I'm saying? My little side piece DAWs. So I would use those other DAWs from time to time, but I always came back to Pro Tools. And when I started working in commercial studios, I quickly realized that Pro Tools was the way to go. Pro Tools is used by every commercial studio. If you know a commercial studio that don't have Pro Tools, they plan themselves, all right? So if you want to be able to work in a DAW that transfers easily between multiple studios, between multiple producers and engineers, because pretty much everybody is using Pro Tools, then Pro Tools is definitely the way to go. It's the industry standard. I actually got my first Pro Tools certification way back with Pro Tools 7, right? We've evolved from then to 8, 9, 10, and now we're just calling Pro Tools 2018, 2019, right? Pro Tools has been a staple in my life, and from all of those different generations of Pro Tools, it hasn't really changed too much to where I can go to any studio, jump in front of any version of Pro Tools and be able to get started working immediately. Pro Tools is one of the most versatile DAWs that there is. Even to buy Pro Tools, there's a lot of different ways, from subscription based now to educational discounts, Pro Tools HD, LE, Pro Tools First, all these different ways, man. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can get into Pro Tools. It works on every single platform, which is great. And going from a Mac to PC with a session is no problem, right? Now, if you did some session in FL Studio, for example, and you want to try to later get it over to Pro Tools, there's a few more steps that you have to do. So working in Pro Tools just helps to streamline everything, especially when you're doing collaborations. When it comes to creating music and mixing and mastering and recording, all of these different aspects, it's all about being comfortable. You want to be comfortable with the gear that you're using. Honestly, you can make a dope record with any DAW that you have, but the DAW that you're the most comfortable with is going to allow you to be the most creative, to allow you to work the fastest and finish stuff in the most efficient way. So Pro Tools also happens to be one of the most trusted DAWs that there is. simply for the fact that they've been around the longest. They have proven themselves, and you know, if the top engineers like Tony Maserati and Bruce Swedien and whoever else uses Pro Tools, you know, then why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't you? So those are a few of my top reasons to use Pro Tools. What DAW are you using? Why you ain't using Pro Tools? Leave a comment below. And don't forget, if you need professional mixing services, shoot me an email or visit my website, wavywayne.com, where you can also cop custom recording and mixing templates, all right? This has been another Wavy Way tip of the day. Don't forget, be dope.